Good afternoon, my BGD family. Thank you for joining us today for another great interview with the golf industry companies. This is day 2 of our 2-week BGD virtual career fair. This is the 4th career fair that we've had annually, and I'm just excited. For those who don't know me, I'm Jamie Taylor, the BGD founder and the career fair founder. And I mention this every time just because I may have new people on this interview. But the goal of this series is to educate you on the different opportunities that exist in the golf world, and specifically on the corporate side. As a person who's played golf for over 35 years, I was not aware of these opportunities until long after I became a working person. And so, whether you're a parent of a golfer or a non-golfer or someone who just is thinking about what it would be like to work in the golf industry, this is the opportunity for you to learn about all the different opportunities, as well as ask questions directly to the people who are able to hire or have influence in hiring. So please, ask questions throughout this interview, as well as I will offer a follow-up email if you're registered for free with us through our BGD or blackgolfdirectory.com website. You can submit your resumes after this interview directly to me, and I will make sure they get forwarded on to all of the companies that are participating so that they can have you at the top of their list as people to consider interviews with. And so basically use this opportunity to take advantage of getting a good entry into the golf space. And so today I'm excited to have the American Junior Golf Association, also known as AJGA. This organization, I had my interaction with them as a junior golfer. I played in a few of their tournaments, but they're probably the biggest junior golf tour in the world, even though I think they're just in America, hence the name American Junior Golf. But as far as like very notable tour players have played on this tour, I won't get too deep into it because I have my guests here to talk more about it. But just know that I'm just vouching that they are legit. And one of the things they're best known for is their internship program, because that is something that all golf companies in the industry I know of look to hiring their intern graduates because they have such a thorough internship program. So just we're going to learn a lot about that and what that entails. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest so she can tell you who she is and what she does for AJGA. Welcome, Sydney. How are you?
Hi, Jamie. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So I'm excited to have you all back. You all been great faithful uh, people part of this event, and so I would love for you to tell the audience just who you are, what your role is with the AJGA.
Sure, yeah. Hello, everybody watching in. My name is Sydney Della Flora. I am the manager of recruiting here with the American Junior Golf Association. I am originally from Ohio. I went to Bowling Green State University, got my undergrad degree in the event management field. Jamie, are you from Ohio?
I am
Oh my
Cleveland.
gosh. Wow, I'm from Toledo. That is so
Yes,
great. Wow,
we're
I
the
can't believe
best.
we never talked about that
I
before.
know.
So funny. I knew I liked you. Too funny. But once I graduated from college, I did the AJGA internship in 2020. I actually had a little bit of a different route with the AJGA. I started as an in-house intern, which I can talk about our in-house internship here in a little bit. But I first started as a player services intern, where I got to see kind of the background of the AJGA and see how we field our tournaments and talk to a lot of parents and players and just help them navigate the AJGA. Did that over the summer of 2020, and then moving right into the fall of 2020, I went on the road as a traveling operations intern, where I actually got to, go to these awesome events that I got to help field and got to, make these connections with parents. And then I went on the road and got to meet them. And that was such an awesome experience to get that great event management experience with that internship. And then following that, I got hired on with the AJGA in 2021, started off in our operations department as a tournament director, served in that role for
Uh-oh. I think she got cut off.
Oh, can you hear me?
We'll hear you now, Sydney.
Okay, perfect. Well, as I was saying, I was a tournament director for a few years, ran some tournaments down in our operations department. And then at the end of 2022, I moved on to our HR department, where I now kind of oversee our internship program and all of the hiring, recruiting, training, and just managing of all of our interns. So it's been a great 3 years. It's crazy how fast time flies, but I've loved, every minute of it.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing about the AJGA setup is that unlike other companies in general, not golf specific, if you're coming as an intern, there's no guarantee for a job, right?
Correct.
Whereas AJGA is specifically designed to hire their interns because they want everybody to come through to have experienced that role as well as get to know their business prior to bringing you on. And then once you're in there, you obviously have opportunities to try various different roles. It's not like, oh, you had to have a degree in HR or you have a degree in marketing to be hired in these different roles. So that's really cool that AJGA is basically teaching you the formula of what they like to do, and then that way you can fit pretty much any role in the company. I'm doing a sidebar real quick. So I currently just read this book, and I'm not normally the person to talk about books I've read, especially not on this platform, but it's called The E-Myth Revisited. And the idea is that in order for a business to be successful, of course, which AJGA has been around for what, 45 years?
45 years this year.
45 years, exactly. In order to be able to go on for that long and scale, you have to create systems and formulas. So AJJ has essentially created that model of anybody can be brought in and learn the system and then be put in any position in this company. So it just follows that book's theory. And so that's why I'm just kind of listening to you talk. I have a different lens than I think I've had in the past about AJGA. And it's kind of cool to now be able to think, wow, that he had the foresight to set this up this way. So anyway, I'll get off my soapbox on that and get back to you in regards to, so AJGA is a junior tour is the main focus, and but you have obviously the operations side. So can you speak to the operations side in regards to, as far as internships, what are the different types of internships that you could have available?
Yeah, absolutely. So really the backbone of the AJGA is our internship program. As Jamie mentioned, we really hire directly straight from our internship. So we put a ton of time, a ton of effort, and really everything into our interns, just because they really are the next generation of AJGA full-time staff, which is awesome. And our biggest internship is our traveling internship. And I mentioned that we do have an in-house internship where you would have to relocate to the Braselton area, Braselton, Georgia. That's where we're located. It's about an hour north of Atlanta. But our traveling internship is unique just because you're going to be moving around the entire country every single week to a new place. So there really is no relocation expenses that you need to incur, just because the AJGA covers that, the AJGA coordinates that, they do everything for you, which is really awesome. But we have two different positions in our traveling internship. We have a communications internship, which is more of that social media, content creation, photography, and video editing side. But then we also have that operations internship, which, as I mentioned, I did, which is that event management one. So our operations interns do everything from just general golf course setup and maintenance. They'll, mark hole locations and mark the golf course and just everything that needs to be done to get the golf course, tournament ready for the week. That's what the operations interns kind of take on every week. The operations interns also, get that opportunity for a ton of public speaking, whether that's being a starter or being a scorer or, managing, 10 to 12 junior golfers as they're playing their rounds and being their rules official or helping them with pace of play or anything like that. And I know what you guys may be thinking, I don't have a super extensive golf background. I don't know the rules of golf. I don't know if I can do this. Don't let that, deter you from doing the internship. You by no means have to have any sort of golf background. While it is, helpful to have some sort of understanding of the game, we do teach you everything you need to know on the rules and pace of play, and really just whatever we do at our events. We will sit down with you individually and train you through every aspect of that. So don't let Um, the word golf really will scare you away if you don't have, that extensive background and everything. But you are placed on an intern team that you will travel around with each week to a new place. So each team will have anywhere from 8 to 9 individuals, and 6 to 7 of them are operations, and 2 of them are communications. So the communications interns can, bounce creative ideas off of and work on their communications tasks together, while the rest of the operations interns really can tackle all of the setup and all of that, day-to-day operations functions that need to get done. They can all work together in that realm, which is really cool. You spend really 24/7 with your team, and you become basically a little family at the end of it. I know I talk to my intern team quite a bit now, and one of my friends on my intern team, he actually got hired with us as well. So we're very close and everything. So but yeah, so it's a really great opportunity to see the country. As I mentioned, every single week you travel to a new place. We try and regionalize travel for the most part, just so that you're not traveling from, the East Coast all the way to the West Coast and back every single week. So for example, for my internship, I was out West for it. So I was in the California, Washington, Arizona area for a majority of it. But we have tournaments, in all parts of the country, whether that's out West there or in New England or in the Florida and Georgia and Texas area, Midwest. They're all over the place, which is, such a cool opportunity to give everybody just a cool experience to see a new part of the country that they may not have seen, while also, gaining that event operations experience while they're at it.
That sounds really cool. And as someone who loves to travel, those who follow my personal pages know that I'm constantly on the move. That sounds really exciting. Again, would have loved to have known about this when I was coming up through college. Especially. I mean, I know I could technically do it right now. As a working person, I could apply for this opportunity, and I know I'll touch on that with you. But I just know that I would have jumped at the opportunity to had that experience of not just working with a company that has such a great formula of teaching you all these skills, but also the idea of being able to travel on their dime and having a team of people to travel with. That would have been a really cool experience. So, just in hindsight, for those watching, if you have, again, a junior golfer or you're just trying to figure out your next path, I strongly encourage you to consider AJGA's internship program. So let's switch on to that. So you mentioned you have about 8 to 9 people that you're with and you're traveling. Speak to that budget, actually, because they do have questions in the chat about how much can you make, and there's obviously a budget for what you spend. So can you just touch on that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So our traveling interns get paid $9 an hour, plus time and a half for overtime. And typically we have 2 different seasons of our internship. Our spring season runs from the beginning of March and goes through the beginning of May. And our summer season runs from the middle of May and then goes through that middle of August, maybe late August, depending on, your schedule and our schedule and everything. But in the spring, really interns are expected to work anywhere between 45 to 50 hours every single week. And in the summer, it's 55 to 60. So there is that additional compensation for overtime, which is time and a half. But then that base hourly rate of $9. And then
We lost you again, Sydney. So while she's getting back, you there?
sorry, yeah.
We got you. So you said you're $9 an hour plus you get the overtime.
Yep. And so the AJGA covers all your travel and lodging expenses, as well as a lot of your food too, which is great. So all of your travel expenses, gas, all your lodging, so whether you're staying in a hotel that week or anything like that, is all covered by the AJGA. And for the most part, the full-time staff will kind of coordinate all of that for you. So it's not, something that you're kind of, looking for and doing all of that. They'll kind of tell you where to go, or they'll give you, a budget of hotels or the amount of where to stay for a night or so. But for the most part, that's all coordinated for you, which is really helpful. But yeah, so all of those expenses are covered for. I said a lot of your food. So really, whenever you're working, during the tournament rounds or anything like that, if you're working through lunch or through dinner or whatever, the AJGA will cover your meals.
Uh-oh. You lost again.
Or maybe during a travel day, those meals would be on your own as well. So some meals are covered, some meals are not. But that is what that, additional $9 an hour plus overtime is used to do that for, which is really helpful.
Got it. So that's good to know. So meals are covered. They pick your location. So it's almost like they give you the packet. Here's where you have to be for the team, the
Yeah.
schedule, and you just show up and do your thing. So that's actually the biggest struggle. I mean, as someone who travels, like to have that already ironed out. That's the part that to me is the stressful part
Right,
of
right.
traveling a lot. And so, what does a typical day look like for, let's just say, the tournament ops side? What time does it start? What are they doing? Kind of walk us through that process.
Sure. So really every single day is different throughout the week. Usually 1 or 2 days are just strictly travel days where you're driving from one place to the other. Um, so that's, pretty self-explanatory. You're just going to be sitting in some AJGA vehicles that you're just going to take from one spot to the next. And then 1 or 2 days is strictly just all of the setup. So maybe you get to the golf course at 7 a.m. one day, 8 a.m. the next, and you're there, until 5 or so, setting up. And that entails really everything that you see whenever you go to any sort of golf event, whether that's the signage, or maybe you'll see some rope that they put along the cart path so people don't go, out on the greens or in the fairway. The operations interns take care of setting all of that up. Some signage, they'll take care of that. Like I mentioned before, the hole locations, the operations interns help pick those, which is usually the operations intern's favorite part of the internship is picking out the hole locations, just because I feel like that's such a big part of, a golf tournament is where all of the holes are. So getting to actually hand pick those positions as an operations intern is so fun and such a cool opportunity. So they get to do that. They get to mark the golf course, which is just, putting paint on the ground for whenever there's water, or to define out of bounds and like roads, main roads and everything like that. So they'll help with that for a couple of days. And then the AJGA has a day that is strictly just our qualifier day where players that couldn't, make it into the tournament initially will try and play their way in through our qualifier. We usually accept, anywhere from 8 to 10 spots in our qualifier to then play in our tournament. And in that, there's, registration involved for the qualifier. And then there's obviously that rules officiating aspect, and some pace of play with that day. And then some general breakdown as well after the qualifier. And then there's a day dedicated strictly to our practice round, as well as maybe a junior am. A junior am is our big fundraising event. The AJGA is a nonprofit, and we're really big on giving back to local charities, as well as our ACE grant program that we have. So that we do run a junior am tournament where local sponsors and local committee members or golf course staff can come out and play with some of our juniors, and donate some money, which is such a fun experience for them, a fun experience for us full-time staff, and for all of our interns as well. And then the practice round is also going on in that day usually. And the practice round consists of some registration where we give all of our players some gifts, whether that's golf balls, and a towel, a hat, maybe a shirt, a golf shirt, and everything like that, which is super cool. And then we have 3 competitive tournament round days. So in the summer, our tournaments take place on the weekdays, usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are our summer days. In the spring, our tournaments take place on the weekends, just because our players in our tournaments are, 12 to 18. They're all still in school and they can't play golf on the weekdays as they're, have class and everything to do. So we adjust and we have our events over the weekend in the spring season. So in the spring season, typically our events are only 2 rounds, just to, accommodate for those students that can't miss school. So it's usually just Saturday and Sunday. But then in the summer, we do have a little more flexibility and have those Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But those days really just consist of some general setup in the mornings, a lot of rules officiating, a lot of, pace of play, and watching a lot of really, really great golf while you're out there, which is fun. And then some general breakdown every day. And after that final round is when, the operations interns really break down everything that they put up. So all the signage, all of that rope that I talked about, and everything like that, they'll take that all down, which is definitely the biggest thing that they do at the end of the week, but it's, really rewarding to pack it all away and then go on to their next destination and start it all over again.
So that sounds like a lot, but it sounds like it's a pretty, like I said, strategic thing. It's not like you're coming in there trying to figure things out, other than learning the new facility and how
Right.
the layout of the facility. Now, we talked offline about this, but you played golf, but we were a very casual golfer. You never played at a highly competitive level. And so, as someone who doesn't probably have you have some golf knowledge because you know how to hit the ball and play it before. But
Yeah.
coming up with the level of experience you had, did you have to learn a lot of these things that you're referring to as far as the tournament ops side?
Oh, absolutely. I played,
All right, Cindy, you're almost there. She'll be back shortly.
so sorry again.
All right, go ahead. Yeah, so go ahead.
Um,
We just heard you play, and so go ahead and help what you played.
Yeah, so I played in high school, very recreationally. I was on the team, but I think, lost like every single match. But that's okay. It was still so fun. But I feel like when you play, you don't really understand like really what goes into the tournament. Like I said, the picking of the hole locations. Like I feel like as a player, I never really thought about that needing to get done every single day and how it needed to be different. So I didn't really, knew what that entailed. I didn't know, the time and the effort it takes to do that. And I really didn't know the rules all that well. I feel like like you said, I knew how to hit the ball. I knew that it needed to go into the hole somehow. But I didn't really know exactly, what happens if I go in the water? What do I do? So there was a lot of, learning during our training week, and our internship starts with a week-long training at our headquarters. So we'll fly everybody here for our headquarters, and we'll pay for all of that travel as well. And we'll teach them, all of the rules from, what to do if a player, swings and misses. What do they do then? Or what do they do if it goes to the water or anything like that?
Yeah, that's a great overview, and I agree with you. I played for a long time, but I always have learned more about golf as I've worked in the industry. We have a great question from Alex. He says, "What are the leadership or mentorship roles that interns can expect?"
Yeah, absolutely. So the AJGA is really big on, the professional development of our interns. And as I mentioned, we hire full time from our internship program. We have a really great mentorship program that we do, where we pair every single intern up with a full-time staff member for the duration of their internship to be, their mentor for the entire duration of their internship season. And that always, works really well just because all of their mentors have done the AJJ internship and have, been there. And, if they are struggling one week or, don't know what to do with this situation or anything like that, come talk to me or anything of that nature. Sorry. Hold on. I'm going to try and connect. I'm going to try to connect to a different Wi-Fi and see if it gets better.
No, that's fine. And so I'm just recapping that you were talking about the mentorship and leadership roles. And that was a great question, by the way, Alex. We don't always think about that, but definitely when you're interning, that's an important part of internships is also learning from people who work in the industry and hopefully figuring out what the next steps will be post your internship. So that was really good information to share. Now, though you talked about the tournament ops side, there's obviously the communications internship. And right now, just to be clear for the audience sake, what current internships are available right now?
Yes. So right now, our applications are open for our traveling internship. We have the operations internship and the communications internship available for both that spring and that summer seasons. The spring applications close October 16th, and the summer applications close January 5th. So those two are both open and available at this point.
And I had you kind of talk about the day of a tournament ops intern, a communications intern, are they in a similar boat in that they're physically going to different locations because it's a traveling internship, but what are they doing that's different from the tour ops?
They are, and good question. The communications interns do travel around with those operations interns and spend, a ton of time with them. Really, the biggest thing that they do that's differently is just they take, all of the photos, all of the videos, everything that you see on our social media platforms. For the most part, our traveling communications interns have created and taken and done with it, which is super great. Instead of, going out there and marking the golf course and setting up and everything, you would see them, with the camera, taking photos of the golf course. They write a ton of articles, whether that be, on this year's tournament and what to expect with, the players that are coming out, if there's any notable players. Maybe, this week that tournament is sponsored by, a PGA Tour professional. So they may, write an article about that and how they're coming out and everything like that. So a lot of the work that the communications interns do is done, on their computer or on their camera or anything like that. And we provide all of the equipment for our communications interns. So that's super helpful for them. So you wouldn't need to bring anything. We provide you with all of that equipment that you need to use to get all of your tasks done. But the communications interns also help with the rules officiating. They also help with the pace of play as well. They may not do that every single week by any means, but they do, help with that every once in a while with the operations interns, which is cool to give them that opportunity to watch a lot of great golf and help, grow their knowledge with rules and just the golf industry and the sports industry in general, which is great.
Got it. And I just want to remind people who have joined us, if you have any questions or just have comments you want to share, please put them in the chat. We're just, having a conversation, so this is not super formal. Oh, another great question. Will the operations interns have any opportunity to dabble in the communication side of the internship?
Good question. If that's something that they are interested in, we absolutely would love to have them help. It may not be something that we can guarantee that they would do, right off the bat. It may be something that once they get comfortable and in the groove of the internship, if they want to sit down and just see, what kind of goes into the editing of the videos and the taking of the pictures and, the award ceremony is a big part of the communications task. They set that up, they help run that, they do everything like that. If the operations interns want to, sit in and see how that goes, we are more than, happy to have them sit in and see that side. I know a lot of times we get questions from operations and communications interns that's just like, what kind of goes into the back end of this tournament? Like what does the contract look like or what does the food and beverage negotiations look like? And if that's something that they're interested in and want to sit down in, we are, more than happy to show them and give them that information. We have a really great program throughout our internship. It's called our Operations Development Program. We call it ODP. We have a lot of abbreviations for long names around here. But we will give every single intern, a week to sit down with the full-time staff tournament director and go through, their budget and go through, like I said, the F&B negotiations and the contract and see, what is the event logistics getting to this point and, what did the negotiations look like with the sponsors or with the golf course or the hotel and everything. And I know that when I was an intern, that was something I was super, interested in, having that event management passion and background. I wanted to just get as much knowledge and everything from those staff members, just whether, that was me then moving into the AJGA or if I, wasn't going to be with the AJGA after that. Just having that knowledge is super helpful going forward in your professional career. And that's something that, we're really big on showing all of our interns because we're, like I said, really big on the professional development and want them to succeed, whether they continue on in the golf industry, in the sports industry, or just any industry, after that.
Yeah, that's really great. And again, very helpful. I think having worked in other companies, I don't see as many training programs being as thorough as yours at AJGA in regards to helping people who are just coming in, especially if this is their first job or first career opportunity, to have a thorough training process so they're not just out there trying to figure everything
Right.
out. So that's really cool to hear. So I wanted to ask, I had a question about the communications things you mentioned. So this person's taking pictures, obviously posting on social, and you mentioned a writing piece. Do you think that the people in those positions need to have a background in, let's say, journalism or photography, or is this, do you consider anyone for those type of opportunities?
For sure. I would say the more general opportunity that we have is our operations internship. I feel like really anybody can come and do it. We've had people of all backgrounds that come and do the operations internship. The communications internship definitely takes some skill of having, that photography or videography or writing, piece in it. However, I mean, we're not like looking for an entire slate of experience. This is an internship, and
She'll be back shortly. I know she's had some issues, but I want to thank you, Alex, as well for your questions so far. There you go. Go ahead, Sydney. I see you moving, so I think once you talk, I can.
Hi, can you
There
hear
you go.
me?
Yep.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
No, you're
Actually, I
good.
moved desks today. I moved to like a totally different office. So I bet it's probably just this office. I had no idea.
No worries.
So I am so sorry. That's been such a pain.
No worries.
But yeah, so by no means are we expecting a full slate of experience and, experience on every single, photography, writing, videography, video editing. We're not expecting any of that. It would be very helpful. But if, you just have a bunch of photography experience or you just have writing experience or anything like that, that's great too. But let's say you are just really passionate about it and you just do it as a hobby. Maybe you're in a club at your school that has a lot of that. That's great as well. We welcome that. And I would highly encourage everybody, if you're interested, even if you don't have a ton of experience, to apply. There's a section in our application that specifically asks, what kind of experience correlates to this role that you've done and why it might not be professional experience. It might be volunteer experience or something that you got out of the classroom. And that is, the question that you can kind of dive in and talk about, what you have that correlates and what you've done that while might not transfer from your professional experience that you have on your resume, it might just be something that you have, on the side that you want to include. And that's something that is really helpful because, we get, over 1,200 applications typically every year. So we do get, a wide variety of experience and a wide variety of candidates and everything. So the more detailed you can be in that initial application on your resume and everything is always, really helpful in that initial stage of our hiring.
Yeah, and you actually segmenting into the next thing that I wanted to talk about, which is obviously the hiring process. As you mentioned, you have over 1,200 applicants, which is great, right? Like every company would love to have this many people to choose from. But of course, as someone applying, that's very intimidating, right? Because you're like, how do I rise to the top for those few coveted positions? So could you talk about, I guess, the interview process first and what that looks like, and then we'll delve into the once you hire, or not even once you hire, but the interview process. So
sure. Yeah, absolutely. So our interview process is kind of condensed to 3 stages. The first stage is just a general application, submitting your resume, all that jazz. The next stage is a virtual interview. And, the AJGA is actually a little bit unique in the fact that we give all of the candidates that make it to that second stage the list of questions that we're going to ask them in this virtual interview, as well as the time that they're going to have to answer these questions. And times can range anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, so not very long. And it actually just records you answering your questions. So you're not going to be talking to anybody. It's just going to be, you and the camera just answering these questions. So my recommendation to all of you in that stage is to, practice. And like I said, we give you the questions and 30 seconds goes by very fast. And so, write down your thoughts, think about what you want to say, and just practice it before you submit it. Because trust me, we can tell when somebody has never practiced and is just kind of like going off the cuff, which sometimes works out really well for them, but sometimes it can kind of blow up. And they only have one shot to answer these questions. So I like to always, advise people to practice, at least come up with some sort of thoughts for every question, just so that, you can be as detailed and, concise as possible to make it into that time. But after that stage is our final stage, which we call our intern recruiting week or weekend. We call it IRW for short. Here we are again with those little abbreviations that I talked about. But for our spring and our summer seasons, the IRW process looks a little bit different. Our summer IRW is a little bit bigger. We fly our top 100 to 125 candidates to our headquarters in Georgia for a weekend long, recruiting and interviewing event. You do a lot of one-on-one, two-on-one interviews with full-time staff. You get to meet all of the other candidates that are, applying for these internships, which is super cool. And you meet all of us full-time staff in that as well. So all of your travel, your lodging, your food, beverage, all of that is covered for the AJGA. The AJGA covers that for you for the whole weekend, which is super great. So aside from interviews, we do a lot of team building exercises just because, the AJGA internship is very, very team focused. So we want to see how you act in a team, how you interact with each other, and just kind of see that side of everything, which is awesome. So that is what our summer IRW looks like. Our spring IRW is basically that, but just all virtual. We do it during the week instead of on the weekend. So the summer IRW is over the weekend. That's actually taking place February 2nd through 4th of 2024. Our spring virtual IRW is taking place November 6th through 8th. So that's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday instead of the weekend. But that will just consist of, some virtual interviews, as well as maybe some info sessions and stuff like that.
Well, let me just say, your interview process is, again, one of the most thorough ones I've ever heard. And I keep reiterating that because I'm old enough to say that I've been through enough different job opportunities that, and not just thorough in the sense of you guys are making sure you get the best of the best, but just the fact that you prepare the candidates. Like, I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of companies being that intentional about, hey, we'll give you the questions ahead of time, like practice your answers. That way you don't come off like you said, off the cuff, or like you're babbling or whatever the case. And so if you can't take the time to practice and make yourself prepared, then you definitely are not wanting the job that bad. So right. I say all that to say, I almost want to just go through the interview process just to hone my interview skills. I mean, I haven't had to interview a lot in my lifetime, but I feel like going through that process, even if I didn't get the job, and I hate to be like, say it that way, but even if you don't get it, just to go through that process will probably help you with other job opportunities, because then you'll have that practice and that timing, like you said, of not just rambling on, but actually have concise, to the point answers. So that's awesome, man. I mean, I've done this interview with you all. Like I said, this is my 4th time, and I don't know that I realized how thorough.
Yes, I know. It is. I feel like everything from, the start of the internship all the way to the end, we have everything just planned out, to a T, which is really great. I love, and that's like why I love my role so much, and why I wanted to get into it, is just like the amount of time and effort and readiness we give to our interns is something that's just like so notable and, respectable, I feel like. I remember being an intern and being like, wow, they're giving me a ton of responsibility. And I just started like 7 days ago. And here I am driving my truck all across the country. And they're just hoping that I make it to this next place. But that's so great though. Like I feel like you learn so much about yourself, about other people. Everybody on my team had come from so many different backgrounds. And that's just like such a cool opportunity just to learn about them, learn about yourself, and really get that awesome experience with like leading and managing and everything like that, just right off the bat is so cool.
No, that is very cool. And so you go through this awesome interview process, and let's say you found out, in your case, you found out you got the job. So what does that look like as far as before you get off on the road or before you start the internship? What does that look like?
Yeah, sure. So like I said, our spring IRW takes place in November, the first week of November. We'll probably have final decisions for our spring internship that first week of December at the latest. The AJGA actually closes for like the whole month of December. So we like to give everybody their offer letters and everything so that they can be all set before we, close and you can't hear from us for a month. So usually we have those offers by then. Our summer IRW takes place that first weekend in February, and we like to make, final offers by the beginning of March or so, which, it's tentative and may change, but that's usually our goal every single season. But really from that point until the start of the internship, that's usually, 2 months or so, you'll get a lot of emails from me and just getting a lot of like, documents to prepare you for the internship, whether that's, links.
Oh, we lost Sydney for a second.
Oh,
go ahead. I hear you. I hear you, Sydney.
Okay, perfect. So in that 2 month span before you start the internship from when you got your offer, we may give you you'll get a lot of emails from me, but you may get some emails on the USGA rules of golf if you wanted to study before you got here or just kind of freshen up if you, may have that experience. We may, collect just some like HR forms, stuff like that. But really from the moment you get the internship, you are pretty locked in until the internship starts in March or May, which is really great. So we try and give these offers out early enough so that you can take some time to rest and get prepared for the internship and not be scrambling to find something for the summer. Let's say your whole last semester of your spring. So that's really helpful. But yeah, once we really give offers, you're pretty much locked in until then. And I'm always available. I'll send a lot of emails, like I said, with HR documents and stuff that's, kind of boring that I won't dwell on, but yeah.
So you mentioned obviously you're getting paid, you're getting overtime. If you have overtime, you're traveling, you have an itinerary, you have a team of people you're traveling with. What are some other perks that you get from these internships? And it doesn't have to be tangible, but it could be tangible. Just give it like 2 or 3 of the perks that you get from this job.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I would say the biggest perk is tangible, and it is all of the things that we give you right off the bat, and that is a bunch of Adidas gear. We give everybody uniforms, so that is 2 to 4 golf pants or shorts or skirts for ladies, for the bottoms for that, and then depending on the season, we give you anywhere from 3 to 5, AJGA golf polos. That's what I'm wearing today. Again, we're sponsored by Adidas, so really head to toe, we're wearing Adidas clothing. So we'll give you that. We'll give you some rain gear. We'll give you, I think, 2 pairs of shoes, some gloves if you're in the spring, because sometimes you're going to be going to places and it's going to be a little cold. We may give you some gloves. We'll give you hats. Everything like that. So really head to toe, you'll get a bunch of Adidas gear, which is awesome. We may give you a book bag to put all your stuff in to take, to and from the golf course every day, which is great. So that's definitely a great perk that we give you. I mentioned the traveling. I would say, obviously, this is the best perk of the internship is just the places that you get to see. You're usually on site at a tournament event for about a week, and then you'll go to the next. So in the spring, our spring internship is about 8 weeks long. So that will take, you'll go to 8 different locations for these events. In the summer, our internship runs anywhere from 12 to 15 weeks. The later months of our internship kind of vary, just dependent on, if you're in college still and you have to go back to school, or if you have something lined up that starts, in mid-August, and you needed to end, the second week of August or something like that. That opportunity is available. But also some interns, they don't have anything lined up. They're done with school and they can go, through August into September. We have that available as well. So depending on how long your internship is, 12 to 15 weeks, you would then be going, to 12 to 15 different cities, maybe different states, parts of the country, which is super cool. That is, I would say, the best perk in that regard. And then Really just the networking that you get to do throughout this internship is unreal. I know like the people that I met on my internship were awesome. And whether that's golf course staff, we go to some pretty, well-renowned golf courses. So whether it's golf course staff members that you get to meet, whether it's, tournament committee members that come out, that live in the local community, that, volunteer their time to help run these events. Whether it's them, whether it's the players that we have playing. We have a ton of, professional golfers, LPGA and PGA, that have, sons and daughters that play in AJGA. And you get to, meet a lot of them. And that's just a super cool experience, just to kind of, get to know them and get to hear, what life is like in that realm and everything. So just the networking that you get to do with that, as well as, our sponsors. We have some really, really great sponsors at all of our events, and it's usually different at every event that you go to. And we have, a lot of our sponsors come out to our events and meet the staff and talk to the players and get to see everything. So networking with all of them is a super cool perk of the internship.
And I would just add that having worked in the other golf companies like LPGA and met other AJGA intern alums like yourself, I know for a fact that if you have AJGA internship on your resume, it's very easy. It's much easier, to put it that way, to get opportunities, or at least be considered for other opportunities full time after the internship, because people know how thorough their internship program is, and therefore feel confident that they're hiring someone who already has skills that are needed. So whether you get hired by AJGA internally or consider going into some other opportunities outside of golf or within the golf industry, I can tell you from personal experience, you will have a leg up on most. We're wrapping up. We're actually a little bit over. Can you share with the audience just one more time the upcoming opportunities and how they can apply or learn more?
Yeah, absolutely. So our traveling internship is obviously our biggest and really the most fun internship that we have. Those applications are open today. You can apply for the operations internship, the communications internship. You can apply to both if you are interested. You can apply for both of those today on our website, ajga.org. We do have a careers page on there. Our spring internship applications close October 14th or October 16th. My apologies. Our summer applications close January 5th. So our summer applications are open for a little bit longer. If you're available to do both seasons, you can apply for both seasons as well. So lots of opportunities with that traveling internship. As I mentioned, we do have that in-house internship opportunity. We hire in our player services or guest services department, our communications department, as well as one in our finance department. So those opportunities and applications will open in December. So those won't be open for a little bit longer, but those will open up in December. Those opportunities are only available over the summer months, and they'll be open December probably until, the beginning or mid of February.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thank you for those who are joined us. I'm glad to hear that you get your questions answered. And we'll be doing another interview tomorrow. So please join in. If you do not have, you can also get this recording if you signed up for free at blackgolfdirectory.com, as well as reminders for these job opportunities. So please make sure you do that. And join us tomorrow, same time, for more interviews with great big companies in the golf industry. Thanks again, Sydney, for your time. And I look forward to sharing all these opportunities in a follow-up email that'll go out tomorrow to all of the participants for all these things and also your contact. So Thanks again, everybody, and have a great rest of the day.
Great. Thank you.